When Dallas Kyle was a child, he, traveling with his parents and sister, accidentally filmed something strange in the forest, a giant humanoid frog. This record made quite a stir at the time, but not everyone believed in its authenticity even then. In the late 90s, and later, in the age of the internet, Dallas turned into a laughingstock. To prove to skeptics that Frogman exists, Dallas decides to shoot a real documentary about his searches with the help of his best friend Scotty and a friend actress Amy. To understand how powerful was the effect of The Blair Witch Project by Eduardo Sanchez and Daniel Myrick in the 1999, you had to be born at the turn of the 70s and 80s and watch this film for the first time with the whole world, knowing nothing about its creation and taking at face value everything that was reported in the accompanying credits. Of course, the fact that this was not a real recording, but a feature film with one of the most creative and inventive advertising campaigns in the history of cinema, became clear quite quickly, but the feeling of terror before something irrational and unexplored, which gave the first viewing, was absolutely unprecedented. Many people tried to repeat this success, and some of them even succeeded. Just remember the popular movie Cycles, Paranormal Activity, and VHS, also constructed as scary stories, shot with a subjective shaking camera. But none of these films managed to get somewhere deep, to break through the barrier of consciousness, to bring back that feeling of coming into contact with something almost tangibly real and incredibly creepy. The popularity of the found footage genre waned somewhere in the mid-2010s, and Frogman is an attempt of the next generation to return to its roots, to find that Lovecraftian feeling of almost sacred awe before the darkness. The attempt is not the most successful, but honest and sincere. Despite the fact that the trio of protagonists periodically fool around, they do not even think of ridiculing and joking about the purpose of their search, and their seriousness is to a certain extent transmits to the viewer. The film lasts 80 minutes and is classically divided into 3 acts, in the first of which we are introduced to the characters and learn the reasons why they go in search of Frogman. In the second, the characters wander the streets of the city and slowly begin to realize that the locals are not telling them something, and in the third they finally find what they were looking for, to their misfortune. Most of the time the movie works pretty well. The characters are understandable, the atmosphere gradually thickens, and the sound design adds to the creepiness. However, The Blair Witch was interrupted at the most interesting point, and the fate of the characters remained unknown. Frogman, in turn, is built as one of the segments in the Horror Almanac VHS, with the obligatory escapes from the monster in the woods and catacombs, and this is where the movie fails. After all, it's a lot easier to be scared of something you can't see, especially if it looks like a big, clumsy frog. Anything but scary.